Oh my
We're
God.
live.
We're live. Can you see us live on YouTube?
Um,
It says it is.
did you say you have two accounts?
I do have two accounts, and I hope nobody ever. Well, once in a while, somebody finds the other one. They're like, I see it.
I see the one that was like from 3 weeks ago. That's probably, or no, she were on somebody else's podcast, maybe. I see episode 37.
Well, we're live and recording. We've been on for a minute, which is a little longer than.
Okay, I do see where it says live stream. Yep, I see us on here. So we're
Oh,
live on YouTube.
we're live on YouTube.
Yep, I see it
Yay!
live.
Yay! Yay! I'm sorry. I'm so excited that we are. Sorry. All right. There's nobody here anyhow. They're not ready for us yet. But
You have a Adam. There's an Adam that just said hey on YouTube. So I don't know if this.
Adam said, "Okay, let me see." Now I'm going to check the chats, studio chat, and
Does the YouTube chat come in
oh,
here?
okay. Whisper backstage. Okay, I guess that's just for you and I. And then I see
For
a
anybody
live.
who's listening to us right now, Effie is learning new software tools that will be far
Where am
superior in
I?
the long term. But right now, we're a little bit in the learning phase, which is all good.
Oh, boy, are we. And if anyone is in the in YouTube or in Facebook, could you kindly, um, you know, uh, drop a message?
Adam said
let
he
us
can hear us
let
loud
us.
and clear.
Where are you
I'm
seeing it?
I'm in the live chat on my phone on YouTube.
The live chat or on YouTube? Okay, I was looking to see on. I wonder if
So
it's on Facebook. All right. So, Adam, thank you. God bless you. I have no idea. I can't see you. This is really a bit crazy. Um, Weird that I can't actually see the chat, but you see it on YouTube?
I'm looking at it on my phone on YouTube. Yeah, I would presume. I've never been on one of these tools, but I presume there's some place to see all the different.
There is. Because look here. All right. Hold on. I'll show you.
Yeah,
Here's
I
one
see.
that it should be just you and I. Hi, Travis. Do you see that?
Studio
Oh,
chat. Yeah,
yeah.
and then I see
Why it
the
can't be?
there's the live stream chat, but it's not.
But I don't see anybody there. Unless, Adam, are you on Facebook? If you're on Facebook, I don't think. Oh, it did say it connected to Facebook, but it might not be picking up on Facebook. If you're on Facebook, could you go over to YouTube and you will be famous? I'm
Yeah, no,
thinking that might be what's going on.
does
I
the
don't know.
Facebook chat sync with YouTube chat generally?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, they generally do. And
Adam
they're
says he's
very,
on. Adam said he's on YouTube. So
oh, well, I don't know what to say other than I love Adam. Adam, I hope I get to meet you sometime. You feel like you've made it real, man. It's not easy when you do this. So, all right, here we go. I don't have my intro. I really, this is in spite of myself. And I'm absolutely delighted to have Travis Schwartz here with me today because he's such an asset. And you will all learn a lot from him, even if it looks like it might be in the future. I don't know exactly what we're doing. I switched from StreamYard to Riverside. I thought I had connected everything, and then when I went to go live, it decided, nah, it wasn't going to happen. And this was half a hour ago, Travis. It just kept saying failure, failure, failure for YouTube. I was like, what the heck? So my apologies. Um, like I say in situations like this, I am just a little old biddy, but I do manage to get somewhere in spite of myself. So, thank you. It is now our regular start time. So, So, of those of you who are not early, good for you. you, you. You didn't get to see me embarrass myself any more than I have to. But here we go. Travis Schwartz is someone that I met not that long ago in Sub 2. And I took a liking to him very quickly and have spent a few hours with him um, via Zoom, of course. We're all in different places. And I'm delighted that he's here and that we can all benefit from his life experience. I'm going to ask Travis for you to start at the beginning. Tell me just briefly, where did you grow up and what was your family life like as a kid?
Well, I was born in California at 7 pounds, 6 ounces, but that's maybe too early for the story. First, I want to say thank you very much, Effie, for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here with you and learn the ropes as we go. Grew up in Southern California, kind of a third generation entrepreneur. My parents owned a retail sporting goods store. My grandpa had a TV repair shop, so I've kind of always been in it, we'll say. Worked for my parents from a very young age, probably like 8, 9 years old, getting paid to do various things. So kind of a strong work ethic was really instilled into me. And yeah, I moved to Texas back in 2019, and I'm currently staying part time in Steamboat Springs, Colorado, as of this exact moment.
All right. So I got you to send me a couple pictures, and this was one that you sent. How old were you here?
I think I'm about 2 years old, just over 2 years old. So the
Good.
sporting goods store was a archery store, specifically bows and arrows. So kind of grew up doing that. Had a stint where I was a 9-time state champion in California with a bow. So haven't done it in a while. I've been a little busy with real estate, but archery was my life for a very long time.
Wow. Wow. That is really impressive. Very impressive. I also have another picture I thought was interesting. Oops, not that one, not that one. Okay.
Other direction.
Yes, that one. Is this you?
That is me.
Oh,
Yeah.
you look so sneaky. What was going on here?
Yeah, I don't know. Based on the pumpkins, I think we were probably about to carve some pumpkins up. I'm probably, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 in this picture. Um, I think this is my friend Ryan back in the day. But yeah, my mom likes this one.
So
Says it shows my personality.
there you go. That's what I wanted to know. Is this what you were like as a kid? You know, kind of smirky and having fun and getting in trouble, or were you quiet? Because here you look like you've got a lot of mischief.
Yeah, no, I would definitely say I was the mischievous one.
Well, I love it very, very much, and I want to say thank you for sharing that with us. And it is interesting that you would be born into an entrepreneurial family as an American. Were your grandparents born here?
Yes. Yeah. My grandma, funnily enough, was actually super into kind of tracing ancestry, and had them traced all the way back to, I don't know which generation, but came across on the Mayflower.
So you're a son of America, uh, the
I guess you could say that. Yeah.
Sons and Daughters of America. You know about that organization.
Actually, don't.
Okay, so if you can trace your lineage to the landing of the first few boats, then you are known and recognized by the government as the Daughters of America or the Sons of America.
Hmm,
Yeah. Hmm. Here's where the
interesting.
pays off. There's a shitload of scholarships for university and things of that sort for people who can trace their lineage, 5 generations back or whatever it is, because it's not that common. So it surprises me when I meet people that don't know that, because having worked at the University of California, I saw the scholarship and I was like, hey, what's this? It seems biased. And they're like, yeah, it's biased for the first ones that ever landed and that you could prove it. I thought, okay, that's
Good to
cool.
know. Well,
Yes, it is good to
I
know.
don't intend on going back to college. I like to learn the hard way, as some will say, but firsthand. But that's good to know. I did not. I learn something new every day.
Yep. So encourage your mom to hold on to that, because that is what they want. They want to be able to prove it. So good for you, because so many of us have to talk about our parents or grandparents, if we're lucky enough, coming over from an old country and bringing their trades. But if yours was already here, that's really that's very unique and cool. I'm happy for you. Um, so you got into entrepreneurship at a pretty young age. Um, when it comes to, I've done as much research as I can, which I'm better at than this thing. Sorry, I'll get really good at this. You just wait and see. But I noticed that you have a quote on your Facebook, and it's always bring more value than you take. What experiences and philosophy, caused you to shape that philosophy? Why that?
Yeah, I think that I'm a very transparent kind of one direction person from like my mindset. I don't have like two face at all. So I've always been the mindset instead of like going into situations or new relationships with like kind of what can I gain from this person, I typically go in from the what value can I bring. And then that tends to automatically, be appreciated and doors open across whatever it is, just from taking that mindset. So I find it much easier to live in the world of let me just bring value to you, and then it comes back, and sometimes it doesn't, but the majority of the time that works out.
And how did you get there?
um Man, I think it's just kind of always kind of going back to being open to sharing what it is that I'm doing, and it just kind of always getting other people excited, which then led to other introductions and the relationships. I mean, we haven't really got much into the various things, but I've been in like five or six different industries, we'll say early, in the sense of when they were hit the ground running. And so, yeah, it's just kind of always stuck with me to be that, live that type of way.
Okay. Well, I've seen that you have transformed your life a couple of different times in different ways. And I'd like to get into the specifics of that. You went to college at all?
Yep, I was went to school to be a registered nurse, and I was at cardiac ICU for a handful of years, about 4 years total.
That's very honorable, but also very draining. So, talk to me. Why did you leave it, or how did it go? Why just a handful of years?
Uh, Mostly it was just kind of a opportunity, really. So, kind of going back to my parents' business, I took over. I kind of graduated in 2008. Economy was bad at that time. Didn't really enjoy working for my parents all that much. So, kind of landed in the nursing career. And right as I got out of school for that, would have been in 2012, my parents were ready to retire. And so they just said, hey, take over the business part time, run it for 6 months was the goal, shut the doors, and then, go pursue your career. So I agreed to do that. And about 3 weeks after I took over, the first Hunger Games movie came out, which had a massive boom to archery. Everybody and their brother wanted to get a bow. And so kind of turned to, before I ever really even get started in the nursing career, and my business kind of life came back and latched onto me. And so I ran both of those full time for about 2 years. And then I did part time nursing for 2 years. And so really it was that and that transitioning to my next e commerce stage of my life. It really just made more sense. Although I really loved what I did in the hospital,
Mhm.
it just, you can't do everything. So I had to make the decision to kind of jump out of it.
Timing is such a unpredictable, and yet if you can get it, you're so fortunate. And to think of the Hunger Games coming out just when your parents were going to close down the business, and of course now um, a lot is being said to your generation about don't let the baby boomers close out their businesses.
Hmm.
Instead, go and buy them out and keep the business going. When you think that it takes so much for a business to survive for 5 years, and the statistics are even less that it could survive for 10 years. And how old was your parents' business?
So it's currently still open. It's basically 50 years old this year. It started in it actually technically was 50 last year because it was 1974, I believe is when they opened their first doors.
Wow. So the kind of credit lines and the kind of goodwill and all of the client base and everything else, that's a lifetime. So for the Hunger Games to come along just at that time must have allowed your parents to retire with considerably more financial gain than if they had just shut it down, let's say a year before.
Yeah, I mean, I think it helped me more than them, right? So because the way we kind of structured it is I really took over the business and paid them, kind of cost value and then the goal was for me to run it for the next 6 months and then close the doors, just kind of like getting rid of the inventory type of thing. Um, but with everything that happened, business boomed. I didn't want to give up on my nursing career, and I also didn't want to close the doors. So I went to a local Bass Pro Shop and kind of went to the archery department and hired a couple of the guys there as the best ones. And then fast forward, I did that for 7, 8 years and actually moved to Texas, ran the business remotely for a long time. And I mean, I attribute most of that to having, really good quality staff who, really cared about the product that they were providing.
Nice. And you still have it now.
It's still in operation. I don't run the physical retail portion anymore. That was taken over by like a larger conglomerate,
Oh,
but I still operate online on the e-commerce side of things.
oh, okay. So it's still an income stream.
Yeah, you can say that.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And what legacy? I think that's awesome. That's really nice. So you went and you got nursing a little bit out of your system. And what did you approach after that?
So, sticking with the timeline of the story, in about 2015, I was that was right when I kind of the trigger to switch really out of nursing full time. I was in a life-threatening boating accident, which I was ran over by my own wakeboard boat with about 12 people on my boat. Got airlifted to Vegas and spent about 10 days in the ICU. So that really shook things up a little bit. And I was
How
kind
old
of
were you?
I was 25.
Did you see it coming?
Uh, I mean, from the sense of like I saw the boat, but I had like tried to do this flip, and so I was kind of out of it, hit my head a little bit in the water, so like saw it coming, but I also had a board strapped to me, so couldn't really get out of the way. It was kind of a slow motion thing, if we'll say.
And then how long was it before they had you airlifted into a hospital? Did it happen fast or were you
It
down?
yeah, basically I was conscious from the time they picked me up on the boat to took me to a from a boat to an ambulance to a hospital. I was conscious for all of that, and then I can recall coming into, the ER and all hell breaking loose, and then they sedated me, and the next time I woke up a few hours later, I was going out to get on the helicopter, um, and then I woke up a couple days later after that. Got
Wow.
flown to and had surgery.
Okay. What kind of surgery did you need? Why did they have to take you from a regular hospital and out?
I mean, I had basically a major trauma surgery. I cut through 9 ribs, spleen, diaphragm. Had 156 staples by the time I was done. So I had about the size of roughly a football size hole in my side from a propeller on the boat.
Wow. We. Wow. We.
So,
Now you had told me that I think it was your fiance at that time, right? Was
yep,
there?
yep.
Um, and the people that everyone that was there was in your wedding party.
Pretty much the vast majority of them. Yeah, it was most of the wedding party, and then like some of their dates that were on the boat that day, and this was about 4 months, almost exactly before my wedding.
So within 4 months, you were able to walk down the aisle, or did you? Were you in a wheelchair,
Yeah.
or
No,
what?
no, no. I was pretty much back. I was actually back surfing on the same wakeboard boat 6 weeks after the accident. But then, yeah, I had no issues kind of going.
How could you recuperate that quickly? I'm
I
sorry
mean,
to ask such a question.
I was in a sling, but I was still up on the boat. So, uh, I mean,
Okay, that's where if I was your mom, you would have got a kick in the butt.
I was basically on like an accelerated rotator cuff, physical therapy type, you know, restructuring. So I was going to physical therapy, I think 3, 4 times a week. And so mostly it was like an arm injury because I almost cut this arm off. And then I had, almost all the way down to my waist, from like my shoulders to my waist kind of scarring.
How long was it before you knew you were going to recuperate fully? Because you're very fortunate, which I know you're aware.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I can recall them coming in the hospital and saying, "Hey, the you may never be able to lift your arm because we couldn't find this nerve." And I think it was like 2.5 months before I could go get this test done to really know if that was gonna be a forever thing or not. So, um, yeah, I would say I was pretty much fully recovered in 4 months, three by the wedding. Yeah,
Well, I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for you because, and also it says something about your spirit. For it says that you're either really stupid or you're very adventuresome and you don't let things keep you down. And I'm going to go with the latter.
they're probably all a little accurate there.
Well, the bottom line is that a lot of people would have been very, very worried and never gotten anywhere near you did. But probably by refusing to take it laying down, you probably got yourself better a whole lot faster, you know?
Yeah, and I've said this many times to many people that blows their mind, but like that accident was probably one of the best things that ever happened to me. Knock on wood, at the end of the day, like I have no real physical disabilities from it. To
So
this
why was
day.
it one of the best things that could happen to you? Why do you say that?
The biggest thing was that it just really like made a fork in the road for my life. And my life was honestly really good at the time. Like I ran a business that was successful. I worked in the hospital, was successful. I had a beautiful fiance that we'd been together now for like 15 years at this point today. But we were just, about to get married. I think the biggest thing is I was just kind of stuck in this. That's how everything worked. And it really obviously shifted everything to where I couldn't work, I couldn't work out, I couldn't go to either of the jobs, and I was kind of stuck in bed for a few weeks. And so, at the time, I had dabbled a little bit on selling on Amazon, and so 2015 was kind of early days of the Amazon FBA, Fulfilled by Amazon program, and so I spent a couple weeks in bed playing Xbox, and then was like, all right, I got to do something with my life. So got my computer out and quickly grew my online business to about $250,000 a month. Um,
Wait, $250,000 a month.
yeah, in less than 90 days.
What were you doing? I mean, I realize that you were again in an
I mean,
opportune
really,
time
it was
because
just connecting
early on.
dots,
But
right? So I had all of these connections, like you said, from the retail store for so long. So I had wholesale purchase kind of power, and so it was really taking that and then buying stuff and getting it online. And prior to that, I already had was selling on Amazon for like one item, but I quickly expanded to selling everything I possibly could. And within a year and a half, we hit $1 million a month.
wow, how are you sourcing this stuff? Because I know that with your family's business, that those lines, those pipelines of everything that they were selling would have already been established for by years. How did you decide what you're going to sell and where did you get them?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to make this show an Amazon
It's
FBA
not
show,
about
but
Amazon. It's about
right.
how you're sourcing. It's
My
about
my
how
my
you're
point is
resourcing.
in that world of Amazon, there's a lot of like different tools that help you tell you what sells well on Amazon. It basically gives you data based on what's already on there. So
Okay.
you could look at a tool and say like, hey, this camouflage shirt as an example
Hmm.
sells 1,000 a month, right? And then here's what you take, and then I could just go order that from the manufacturer. So there was a time where at one point I was ordering entire truckloads, like a full semi truckload of deer calls, like a call for calling deer when hunting. So like huge volume of some things.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I think at one time we were selling 10,000 different items. So it quickly expanded. I bought a warehouse, and
Oh, yeah.
that
Because I
was
was going to say you couldn't turn that much over
yeah.
fast enough, could you? To just have it go from the manufacturer to the seller? I mean, the buyer?
Yeah, I mean, there's a handful of different ways to do it, but like we got that was basically like as that took off, it was like as I recuperated and recovered, it was okay. This is this is my future like opportunity. So that's when I cut to minimal 1 day a week at the hospital, and then I basically went back to my retail store, spoke with my manager at the time, and said, "Hey, I'm not coming anymore. You need to take this over." And like, I'm taking the Amazon division of it. And yeah, I mean, that I can recall days where we used to buy Yeti, like Yeti ice chests and cups, and
Oh,
I'd get 100 ice chests in, and we would get them from the UPS truck, and I'd already have the labels, and I'd put the labels on and give them back to the guy. And so
oh,
we
that's
wouldn't even take
awesome.
them inside. And so there was a
Awesome.
lot of different things we did back. I mean, this
Yeah,
was, like I said, this is 2016, 17, 18, 19
got
was
it.
kind of the peak of that. And then I switched from that industry to managing brands on Amazon. So we had an agency,
Wow.
hired about a dozen staff overseas, and kind of built that into the next phase of the business.
Okay, so Amazon was products and that grew. You had so many. It would have been interesting to see how you decided what products to go with. But regardless, um, from there you went to brands. Why brands? Were you working on your own brand, or like that's a little bit of a switch because it's more like services.
Yeah, so the main thing was, yes, I did have a couple of my brands myself, so I was already experienced in kind of growing a brand from scratch on Amazon, and I could tell just writing on the wall of brands that people like me which were buying and reselling. I knew at some point they were going to cut out those and just go direct. So I kind of got in front of that and says like, okay, I'm going to go lead you to where you're going to end up being eventually. So I had about a dozen clients, nothing crazy, but they were some of basically the biggest brands that I was already buying and reselling. Kind of made exclusive agreements per se with them, and then started managing all of their branding on Amazon, which um, allowed us to also scale because I was at a limiting factor of capital, right? So even if I'm buying stuff and reselling, I can only buy it, make 20% on it, reinvest all of it. And so you're kind of limited at your speed of growth.
Mhm.
And I knew Amazon was kind of on a timeline of how long before it was going to change. And today it's a whole different world. For those of you thinking about Amazon, I would not recommend it unless you have a really unique idea that you can patent. That'd be the only way I would explore it. But the times have changed. But yeah,
Is it
that was
not
why.
still growing? I mean, I'm sorry. Believe it or not, I just got an Amazon account. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm embarrassed to
As
say
a
it
buyer or a seller?
as a buyer.
Oh man, where
Um,
you been, Effie?
I just refused. I was like, frick that. I'm going to the stores because you know what? Those are people.
Yeah, I
And I
hear
was like,
you.
I don't like what Amazon's doing, man. And I saw so much coming from China and this and that. And and when I needed some things, I'd be like, "Hey, Jackie," to my daughter or my son, and they'd be like, "Oh, so now Amazon's good enough for you." But it was
Yeah,
very few and far between. And when I got my co-living property, and I had to completely, um, you know, outfit the
yeah,
whole house, then all of a sudden it became advantageous to just
yeah. It's
book and
necessary at
click.
that point.
So yeah, so the whole Amazon thing, I missed it. I mean, but I see it because I was so perhaps slow. I still see it as really growing. Is it not?
I mean, I think in some ways it is, and in others it isn't. I was fortunate enough to part of my journey back in early 2017, similar to like a sub two community. I joined a group of other high level Amazon sellers. Many of those have become some of my, metaphorical family, best friends, sometimes business partners, and various things. And that was a really, I think, a big catalyst of what got me where I am today. I'm actually still part of that group today, and there's over I think about 700 members in there that all do at least $1 million a year on Amazon still.
Oh, so you're still doing over 1 million a year? Good.
Yeah, yeah,
I like
near
the
there,
way
pretty
that you
much.
don't walk away fully. Like there's still a little stream of income. Let's just keep it there. Let's keep it there because it all adds up. And if nothing else, all those contacts that you have are well worth sticking around there.
Sure. Yeah.
I think I think that's smart, to be honest. Because I mean, I can't imagine it, but if you decided you wanted to go back to any one of those things, you've already got to start there. It's not like you'd be like, oh, why did I give it all up? Now I got to start all over again. You still have something there.
Yeah, that's fair. There's definitely still some. I definitely, of all the people I know who are still very much in Amazon, most of them don't really want to be in it as much as they are. So I'm glad that I've kind of, I'm still, like I said, I'm still in it, but it's not my, core bread and butter focus today.
Right. Okay. So then when did you decide that that was after you worked with branding? And I think it was great that you were actually able to pick up the biggest um, clients that you've been working with. Again, it's sort of it's almost like looking for um, good sized rocks in the river to cross. You know, you're
Yeah.
not just jumping in and not knowing where you're going to land, but making some progress through each one step by step. I like that a lot.
Yeah. So most of my dots connect. I'm gonna make a kind of a little bit of a bigger jump on the next thing here. So at that point, my experience was branding, Amazon e-commerce, as well as manufacturing, developing product because I had my own brands from Asia. So that at that time, a friend of mine, family friend of mine, approached me about growing a product in the indoor grow space, specifically cannabis.
Hmm.
Um, and so that was probably in 2019. We kind of dove into that. I got approached because I didn't have any of the expertise in the cannabis side, but more in like the business development, manufacturing, things like that. And so, um,
What was the closest item that you had developed to the growth, vertical growth? Is that what you called it?
yeah, they're vertical grow racking. I mean,
Yeah, vertical growth
not
racking. What was the
nothing that was even remotely close, honestly.
Oh,
Like I was,
okay.
I was in
But it
archery
could have been a
products.
widget. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. At that point, though, I had spent several months in China myself. I've been there various times. So, like, I had contacts, and that was the main reason. So, I kind of shifted. And at the time, I was spending about half my time in the agency for the brand management and half my time building this racking company, to which we about 26x our growth. I went from 5 to 50 people in 15 months. Um,
5 to 50. You know what,
yeah.
Travis? I'd like to make an observation.
And those were all U.S. employees. With take that back, 90% of them were U.S. employees.
Well, that's good. That's good. I think that I've spent enough time with you to know you're humble. And one of the ways that it comes across is when you get to a point where anyone and everyone go, holy shit, what? You just keep going. You just speed up. And I encourage you to slow down just a tad because it's worthy of letting it sink in. You went from 5 to
50
50 in how long or how short?
in 15 months. So
Wow.
exactly what happened is when I said I had the agency and this new company, we got to five fairly slowly. And I knew at that time that that was the biggest opportunity was going into this grow equipment company. And so I actually sold my Amazon agency in a sense of like I gave it to another Amazon agency for a small piece of like the ongoing equity. There was no like cash
Again,
exchange or anything like that.
stream continuing to come.
Yeah, so that allowed me to kind of move pretty quickly. And from the time that I handed that off, that was kind of the start of like, okay, we're going all into the racking company, and we went from 5 to 50 people in 15 months, and that was in beginning of 2021.
Where were you located? Where was it?
So I was located in Texas, but the company we had started when I was in California. And at the end of the day, we had office of a dozen people in California. We had a 75,000 square foot warehouse in Texas. We had employees in like I think 7 or 8 states and 3 countries.
Wow.
In a period of less than 3 years. Yeah. So
Whereabouts in California, out of curiosity?
Riverside, yeah, just
Oh,
inland from
I,
Orange
I
County
know
area.
Riverside. As a matter of fact, I visited it as one of the.
I mean, technically, we're on Riverside right now on this new
Yes, we are
podcast.
on Riverside, but we're not in Riverside.
Fair.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. Good for you. And when you were going into different countries, which kind of countries? How was that? How did that work? Because cannabis has been legal in a bunch of different countries, and Canada, of course. Um, but it's a little slower in the states. Depends on the state. On
Yeah.
state.
It's a good question. So specifically, we're in equipment, right? So we made metal racking systems. We had some fans. We had some airflow systems. So all of this was built basically from the ground up and patented. I mean, we're talking like 100-foot long, 20-foot tall, 100,000-pound systems. So these were really, really large scale things that we developed. It was like a modular racking system, and really like the vast majority of like the brainchild of the product was my business partner who came into it, and I was more like I operated as the CEO, and that company we had some amazing times. At the end of the day, like timing of various things between COVID and other factors. The story actually ends pretty poorly. I lost a majority of my net worth in kind of that story over a 4-year period, and really then shifted more so into the real estate that I'm in now.
I would say that that might have been one of the very first times that you really took a hit, metaphorically, as far as finances are concerned. Am I correct?
Yeah, yeah. I had been told in the past by a fellow friend that I had the Midas touch, and everything I touched went to gold, and that worked out until everything decided just to go to shit all at once.
I'm sorry,
uh,
it's not funny. It's
yeah,
not funny.
I can laugh at it at this point too.
Yeah,
So
good, good. I'm glad you can. Yeah, I'm glad you can. Did you walk away with enough to be able to take care of yourselves and look for something new, or was it that it just completely wiped you out and you had to crawl back up?
uh, somewhere in between those two, I would say. I'm still on the path on the way up, but things have. I've been entirely out of that business for well over a year and a half now, almost 2 years. So um, the basically that was the pivot, right? When that happened, I was like, oh shoot, like I wasn't. I'd kind of I went too much all in, we'll say for sure, right? I was, if you ever, I've never actually played roulette in the casino, but I pretty much played roulette in most of my investment life. So I was always betting on red or betting on black, and it worked for a while until it didn't. So at that point, I was like, oh man, where are all my chips? And looked back at the warehouse I had bought in the Amazon business. And turned that basically sold that, turned that into capital. And then that was when I really kind of clicked as like, wow, I made a decent chunk of cash on this building that I, didn't have to do anything with. Like I made more money than some of the other things in the last 7-year period. So that really put me on to okay, whatever I'm doing next, it's going to be real estate asset based. And that kind of just put me on the path of researching, finding what was the best kind of use case for my money. Which today, as you know, is I've landed mostly in co-living, have a handful of different houses in co-living across a few states. Currently have about 32 members and will be 44 once this new house launches. Um, so
Very
done
nice.
that.
But again, slow down.
Okay.
You got. It's just amazing when you make all these pivots and you just make them sound like they're nothing. But they are much more than nothing, because those are the times and places where people get totally stuck, or they're like, he did what woo, woo, so let's go back just a teeny bit. I mean, you things weren't going the way you wanted them to, so you had to reassess and you were changing direction, and you sold the warehouse, which you were kind of probably taking a little bit of disregarding, not realizing what it was, and then you realize, whoa, this actually is has value. So now I think I'm going to look towards real estate and see if I can build that way.
Yeah. Yeah. It became more of a cash flow. Cash is king, right?
Mhm.
Cash flow. And instead of trying to I think historically, most of the time, I didn't really set out to necessarily always hit home runs, but some things just happened to line up to home runs, and so I kind of got used to that. And then it became a hey, we need to focus on just hitting base hits and getting around the bases type of thing. And so cash flow was my first focus, which led me to co living.
Okay. What else did you look at? Because I'm in co-living, and that's something that drew us together. But I'd like to know how you made the transition, or how you did, what kind of research you did, why co-living for you. I mean, I know for me, but I'm interested in knowing for our listeners and people in the future. Talk to me about when you decided to start researching real estate. What did you look at, and how did you end up in co-living, and was it in um, Squatta? I mean, in sub two, was it in Sam or what? What was your first experience?
Yeah. So to kind of back up a bit, when well after I sold this building and was like, okay, I'm going to deploy this capital into more real estate. Obviously, there's tax advantages to do that route. Um, I really was just doing some online research. I've had an Airbnb as well that my wife has managed for a few years, and so like we had that experience. So I really like that model. Although, be it this is a year and a half ago, I started looking more at the real estate, and I think that the specifically the Airbnb spaces, while there's still areas that you can do well in, I think a lot of that kind of ship has sailed. I think we're kind of on the tail end of that.
Hmm.
So I looked at that. I came across actually Pace Morby, had no idea who he was until about maybe a year and a half ago,
Hmm.
and was really just digesting a lot of his content. Looked at Sub Two, thought about joining that, and then found the Co-Living Mastery group by Sam Wiegert right at that time. Did his 5-day challenge, and then just looking at what the cash flow numbers were and what worked around where I was in Dallas, Texas. Really decided that was where I was going to go. It made a lot of sense, and so I think that I'm early, as in some of the other things, early to Amazon, early to the cannabis equipment space. I feel early in the co-living space, um, and so and I'm pretty good at getting into things where not a lot of things are established and just figuring it out. Have a pretty solid software kind of architecture background. I don't code or anything, but I've built a lot of different applications that have helped our companies run. So I'm pretty scrappy in that area.
Yeah, I would say just about from the time you were in the hospital, right? Trying to figure out, what you're going to do. Immediately, it was the computer and it was software that you were starting. And, going all the way along, it seems like that has been a thread that regardless of whether you're a coder or not, you you get how it works and you must enjoy it and you've done well. So that's very good. Now, you met Sam, which we've both met. And by the way, guys, if you haven't seen my episode with Sam, is earlier on a good year ago, but just a plug, go back and watch it. Wow, I did a
It'll
plug.
be right here in the corner somewhere.
Yes. Well, I never I never talk like that. Sorry. I just did two new things. I finally got Riverside up and I plugged a previous episode. Um, and yet you were in Dallas. So after his 5-day challenge, which by the way, I think for those of you who are looking into marketing, you should look into Sam's 5-day challenge. It's pure genius the way he has it set up. The When you decide I'm going to do co-living, did you naturally take it to you know Texas or where? How did you decide what your market's going to be?
Um, so after kind of hopping into that program, joining that, and digesting all that information, I looked at various markets, but I knew that Dallas is a one of the biggest cities. It's got almost unlimited room for expansion, so I knew it wasn't a bad place to be, and I like the ability to kind of be present on the ground. Albeit I travel a lot and I bounce around, so I also kind of partner with people, and I typically I can't really be in the position where if something happens to the house, I have to be the one to go there, just because I have two young kids and I'm kind of on the move all the time.
And who
Um,
would want to? I mean, no offense, but I very much love real estate, but I don't really want to clean, fix toilets and yell at tenants for not paying me.
yeah, no, I hear you. So I looked at a few different places, but I honestly didn't look too hard outside the Dallas area. I knew it made enough sense there for me, that I kind of just really went full force. And once I got there, I spent a lot of time reviewing different deals and houses. I looked at well over 100 houses. My first house I bought actually came as a referral from someone else in the group,
Mm.
and so that's been a great house for me. And then my other one, I had kind of found myself and moved pretty quickly on a deal that was on the MLS for just a few days.
Oh,
Uh,
on market. Okay.
Yeah, all my deals I've purchased have been on market. So I
Okay.
have now three, about to close on one in a couple of weeks, in Dallas as well, and then one in Tampa, Florida. That similarly was just brought to me as a partnership opportunity by somebody within the co-living group, and they had experience and knew the area, and it made sense to kind of be the capital partner in the deal.
Okay. So you've got three in Dallas and one in Tampa.
Mhm.
Which one is it that's going to open up? Is it the one in Tampa or one in Dallas?
One of the ones in Dallas, yeah.
Okay. So how many rooms is that?
In total, I have 32 today, and there'll be 40, between 42 and 44 when the next one opens, depending on how the final layout is.
Nice. Talk to us about how you're doing them. You have as you said, software architecture is a strength. Do you have your own? Are you managing them yourself and finding the renters yourself? What are you doing, or are you with PadSplit, or what's going on?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when we first started, I kind of went like most things. I kind of go full in. I bought three houses all in a 2 week period. So two in Dallas and one in Florida at the same time.
I'm sorry.
Uh, and so I got basically closed them all within, like I said, a few week period, January, early last year. And so from there, we renovated them all, kind of found people to do that. Visited the houses in Dallas periodically myself and with my kind of minority partner in the Dallas deals. So as far as how we manage them, we did it. We kind of I in a way, I look at it as I went the hard way, but I think it was very valuable at the end of the day. Like we tried to do it all ourselves. I built all the systems. We've probably processed well over 3,000 leads in the last year across. We were listed at one time across like 20 different platforms to drive lead
Wow.
awareness. That was kind of from both the e-commerce background, Airbnb, and really what we found is it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing is just around the education of the end consumer. There's a lot of people that you're kind of spinning your wheels. I'd say half the people that inquire to you, they don't really know what they're looking for, even though it's right there in the ad if they actually read it. So you're burning people there. And then some people just still don't realize that it's like single occupancy, things like that. So we actually just we're in the middle of transitioning, we'll say right now, to pad split.
Okay.
So we have I basically have tenants in my houses, a couple that came in through pad split in the last few weeks, and then everyone else is already approved and transitioning on the pad split by the end of the month. So
Oh,
um,
okay.
I'm moving all houses to pad split so that I can focus more on acquisition. Because I think at the end of the day, that's really what's going to make the difference. And while I've built a lot of systems that will help support us in bringing additional leads,
Hmm.
we're now just going to more direct them over to the pad split marketplace in that manner. So
Okay. And with your properties, are you renting them empty or furnished? And are they um, single gender? Are they niche in any way? Like, do you do vets or? Um,
yeah, so for pad split, you can't really do any of that. It's all furnished is required.
okay.
When I started myself a year ago, we all wanted to offer it both ways. So I kind of went at it. If a house had, call it 10 rooms, we would maybe furnish two of them. And then we would show that. And if somebody's like, oh, I like the furnishings, but I want that room, then we could offer it as furnished. So we typically found about 60% of people wanted unfurnished,
Oh, they
which I
did.
thought, yeah, which I thought was interesting. So we maybe only had 4 rooms furnished. So as we transitioned to pad split, we've had to furnish all the unfurnished rooms. Um, but I mean, I think it's that you get a different clientele typically who's
Right.
looking for unfurnished. If they own more things, they're I would presume likely to stay longer, but I've also been proven wrong sometimes on that one. So I think at the end of the day, the way that Pad Split does it, although I think there's some things that I maybe disagree with, as anybody would with any platform, I think they're doing a really good job at kind of simplifying as much as possible while still trying to keep the product quality high.
Interesting. It'd be interesting. A year is long enough to take a peek, but it would be interesting to see or to know if people who have their own furniture um, do stay longer and consider it more their homes than people who don't. Because if you have it furnished, it's closer to a hotel. The closer you get to a hotel, that concept, the faster people can come. As long check in by
Yeah.
10, out by 4, that sort of thing.
Hmm.
And for one, I've just finished the first place, and all the rooms are furnished. So don't have the experience that you have yet because you just jumped in like you always do, and I tend to go a little slower. But anyways, the point that I'm trying to make is that if if they can come and go really fast, then they probably would. Whereas if they had to bring if they chose, I've got my couch. I love my couch. My desk. Hey, don't take my desk away. I want that one. Or my bed.
Hmm.
I don't know. I might be wrong, but I would think that maybe they would actually stay longer.
Yeah, that was my hypothesis as well. Um, I think the biggest thing is in any co-living environment, there's just interpersonal things, right? Someone is using the laundry when you want to use the laundry, like small common things that might upset anyone. And I think when people have the ability to just be like, they get frustrated, they get mad, and they're like, you know what, I'm just gonna pack my suitcase and leave at any given time. Um, that barrier to leaving is lower than if you're like, I'm gonna pack my suitcase. And you're like, oh, I gotta take my couch, I gotta rent a truck, I gotta do these things. Like, yeah, Billy wasn't that bad, right? That's kind of where they land on. So, it, that really resonates, and I think that's true. However, I think there are a decent amount of people who don't have those items for whatever reason. I've kind of put people. I've noticed people tend to fall in one of three buckets when they move in with us, and they're either probably in their 20s, moving across state line, um, maybe getting out of their moving from their families, so they don't have all that stuff. So it's actually advantageous for them to just move in versus have to buy things.
Hmm.
So that's kind of the one bucket. The second bucket is someone who they're recently going through a life change. Maybe it's a divorce is probably fairly common. Needing to move cities for a job, various things like that. And they're probably like their late 30s, early 40s. And then we definitely have people who are in their 60s, 70s on, fixed income, who maybe their spouse died and so like they're downsizing, right? Maybe they want to move closer to their family. There's all sorts of various reasons. But I tend to find kind of those, it seems like those three specific delineations.
And in your experience of 32 rooms at this time, going for 44, are they co-ed?
The mix within the house, yeah, we don't have any like rules one way or the other. I would say it seems like it's very region dependent. I have one house where there's only one female. I have other houses where there's maybe four. It's like 50%, and another one who's kind of in between there. But I've definitely seen a
So
house
you're
that,
finding mostly men?
yeah, for sure, yeah, mostly men.
Okay,
Yeah,
sure. That's interesting. I guess time will tell. Time will tell
yeah.
for sure. That sounds very interesting to me. And what might your uh, goals for co-living be in the future? You know as well as I do that this is at the beginning because we have to keep educating people, and education takes a long time. Uh, but and also our officials. It's
Hmm.
getting easier, but you know, uh, it's still at the beginning, just like Airbnb was maybe 10 years, 12 years ago, whatever.
Hmm.
What are your plans for this? How much are you going to go into it? How much are you going into this like your next venture, or is it going to be just part of your stuff and something else coming along?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I'm always kind of watching for what opportunities are brought to me through the universe. Very much believe in everything happens for a reason. And so the co-living side is definitely a big part of what I'm planning to do. I plan to continue to grow that portfolio. It's a good cash flowing, like long-term appreciating asset. It definitely has its blockades, challenges right now, but I fully anticipate that those blockades will move over time in a positive direction.
Mhm.
Whether that's occupancy rules, just overall knowledge. At some point one day, Pad Split better just buy a commercial during the Super Bowl, and then everyone will know about it. But they're not quite there yet. Give me a couple of years. Um, so I mean, I think yeah, the
Atticus,
knowledge
if
gap.
you're listening.
Yeah, I think that knowledge gap is one thing. There's a few other things I'd love to see them do in the future, but co-living is definitely a big one of my focus, as well as growing the kind of Airbnb portfolio. I'm specific to one town in Steamboat Springs, Colorado, is where we're focused. I can actually just say that we got cast for this TV show Staycation. So
You did.
in the last couple of weeks, so most of
Yay.
that's all my wife's doing. She's like the loves to host at heart. So we're
Wow.
gonna be. I think maybe it's like 6 months or so before that actually gets aired, but we'll be shooting this sometime this summer. So really trying to grow that portfolio.
Okay, here's where it's appropriate. If I may, I'll try. I don't know, if it's gonna work, but let me just see if I can. Hold on a second. Share. There we go.
Share the picture.
Yeah, if I now that it makes sense. Okay. So
Yeah, as you pull this up, sometime I'm a part time actor in the Yeti
really,
when it's
okay.
well
Oh,
on that picture.
I fell for it, man. I fell for it. Hold on a second. Okay, here we go. Yeah. All right. So, is this the Airbnb you're talking about?
No, that's one of our co living houses.
Oh, that's one of your co-living houses? Okay.
Yeah,
Sorry.
so
That's awesome.
yeah, so we typically go for like I'm looking to make a higher quality product. And so this is just off the kitchen here. It's kind of the centerpiece of the home. It has kind of a coffee shop vibe.
You're not
Um,
kidding?
yeah,
An Airbnb vibe too. Totally got
yeah.
me off. Okay. Okay. So then, oh, how did this come up? Sorry.
Just keep going to the right. I think it's gonna be
Yeah,
there.
I know, but I had it shut down. Oh, there we are.
Yeah, so this is our Airbnb space. This is just fully remodeled, which I completely changed the layout structure. Um, and we're in the process of combining this unit and the one next door to make a much larger unit. Uh,
Nice.
but yeah, this is my Yeti costume. I double S sometimes.
I love it. And is this the one that the TV um, series is going to be in?
Yeah, yeah. I think we're actually probably gonna have the combined or both units on there, but
Hmm.
this is the this is the main one. Yeah.
Nice. I just can't believe that. Wait a minute. I just can't believe this was your co-living place. Remind
Yeah.
me never to show you mine.
I'm sure it's nice.
I thought it was really nice. Oh, and what have I got here? Oh, okay. I thought it was really nice, but nowhere is it up to that standard. Was that marble already there in the fireplace and all?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and so we just turned the fireplace into like a bookshelf and capped the gas line there.
Good, good, very nice indeed. Well, so I can see why you'd continue with Airbnb then. And you said that Steamboat is in Colorado.
Colorado. Yeah, Northwest Colorado. So I'm a pretty big snowboarder. Like to get out, and then I'm teaching my almost 2.5 year old how to snowboard right now. So that's what I do in my fun free time.
Well, I know exactly what that looks like because that grandbaby is being taught the same thing right now, and by her parents. They love snowboarding also, so that's good to know. Colorado, though, has had some good coverage for co-living. Have you thought
Hmm.
about doing co-living in Colorado?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've definitely thought about it. Haven't really looked too hard into it. I mean, my sister actually lives in Denver, so
Hmm.
I've thought
Specifically
about.
Denver. That's why I was saying it.
Yeah, yeah. I've thought about looking at that area. I mean, thus far, I just kind of have a system in place looking for places in Dallas that flag my attention. So Definitely not ruling Denver out. Maybe who knows? That might be where my fifth one is. So,
Especially
but
if you
yeah,
have a family there. Why not?
yeah. So outside of the Airbnbs and the co-living, I'm doing some a little bit of private money lending in both of those spaces. Um, and then dabbling a little bit in coaching. Actually, I have my since we last spoke, I have my first customer that we're going to be starting with. That's in the real estate realm, but not diving too much into that. Just kind of if things surface, it makes sense that it
Okay.
resonates.
Again, don't speed. Just slow down. I'm very excited to hear that you're thinking about uh, coaching because you have such a wealth of background knowledge, and I think you'd be a wonderful person to work with. So, is the coaching in um, Airbnb? Is it in co-living? Is it in real estate general? I know it's your first client. Your beta test is always a little. You got to pick your beta test carefully.
Yeah, it's
Want
interesting.
them to succeed no matter what.
It's interesting. My first client is more of like a realtor who's looking to build kind of systems, technology, improvement, automation tools. But like, if I was gonna say really where I envision being able to help people, it's definitely more so on the co living side, just because I'm early to that and I've dove in. I've seen both sides of it, both doing it yourself and what the details are there and challenges, as well as seeing what it looks like for pad split. So it would if I was going to be working with somebody, we're probably if I go that route, early summertime type of thing, maybe a little earlier, but co-living I think is definitely the area where I could help people the most.
That's good. That's good. Although systems has so much strength. Once you have your system set up, it's like you have happy people. Um, what has been the best piece of advice you've received?
Man, I think it depends
You
on
you you
what
seem to have
context.
lived a few lifetimes, to be honest. So if you have more than one, that's okay. We'll hear
Yeah. um I think one of the biggest things that I've learned, and I can't recall honestly if where the idea started, but I had shared with you my thought process around the entrepreneurial age and what that means, and that kind of came about to me more so just like know who you're doing business with, and where they are in the spectrum of entrepreneurial age. So it's easy for people to say like, oh, I'm not willing to do business with this person because they're 20, right, and I'm older, or the flip side, like this person's too old to do business with. And I think there's chronological age, and then there's the entrepreneurial age, and um, somebody could get into business, their first business at 60, and they're a baby, right? A toddler necessarily in business. And somebody could be 25 and had done 4 or 5 different businesses, and they're, a teenager type of thing. And so I think it's very important to understand the holistic view of a potential business partner or business associate and just what they've done. And it is valuable to have long-term strength in one specific thing, whether it's like, hey, I've been doing real estate for 15 years. But I also find it interesting and helpful if people have been in a several industries with some level of success across all of them. But even if you're going to one industry and you fail, succeed in another one, fail in another one, succeed in another one, that's kind of the typical entrepreneurial life. So I think that entrepreneurial age is is something that I have found fascinating, and you can learn it faster than chronological ages if you go and have 3 or 4 companies at once.
Absolutely. And if you are willing to uh, heed advice from those people who are ahead of you entrepreneurially, as far as age is concerned, for sure.
Hmm.
Absolutely. All right. So that is about experience. What would you say, like turning it around a little bit on advice for people starting out? That is a very good one, what you just learned yourself about the entrepreneurial age. But what about the personality or character of a partner? how do you what would you advise someone who's starting out on today in regards to how they should approach that? How do you know if you've got a good partner
Yeah, that's a great question. I
or if
mean,
you should have a partner?
yeah, for sure. I mean, I think at the end of the day, most people, if you're in the real estate space here, you're typically, if you think you need a partner, it's because you need capital, right? And I think that's different than maybe other businesses where someone's bringing, a different level of expertise. Um, I would say that the best advice would be date before you get married,
Hmm.
right? For sure. If you can, whether it's being on the sidelines in another deal, real estate perspective wise, being on the sidelines of another deal they're in, working together in some sort of something that has like a set time, whether it's like, oh, this thing's a 3 month project, even like a 1 year project, whereas like more of a business, you're kind of starting with no real definitive end date. You're like, hey, we're going to get in, we're going to do this, and we're going to do this until we, reach X or sell it, but it's not a timeline. And so I think if you're in something that is doesn't have a timeline, you need to be a lot more cognizant around um, knowing the person, and then also building in contingency plans. Like, if you first meet anybody, it's the same way as you're dating, whether it's a business partner or what. When you first meet, your sparks connect, and it's like, oh, this is going to be amazing. But you still need to be like, well, what if we get a divorce, right? And like nobody wants to talk about that, but like putting down, and that really comes into more of like an operating agreement and things like that, where in some of my early businesses, I didn't structure that as much as I definitely should have. Um, and if you're barring, a big difference in kind of capital ownership, I think the person with the most entrepreneurial age needs to be the person who's the majority owner. Because I've made that mistake in the past where I was the older entrepreneur age, but I didn't have majority. And when things didn't work, I definitely think I could have changed the trajectory of things earlier if I had control. But, you know, we live and we learn.
So does that mean that when you're looking at someone, if they have very valuable experience, but you have the money, so to speak, um, you should be willing to give them 50%?
I mean, I think it depends on the scenario, right? So, like, if we're talking about co-living specifically, um, if if I didn't have the money and I didn't have a property, but I just learned everything I need to do to like have a co-living house, and I said, hey, I'm going to be the operator. I want to partner with somebody. Personally, I think if I'm the money person, I'd have a hard time giving somebody 50% if they haven't done it before, right? Like everybody can say like I went to college, I got a degree, give me half. That's still not good enough for me. I would probably be more in like this I'm either a 70 or a 6, like a 70/30, so 70% is the money, or
Mhm,
60/40.
mhm,
But if you might do that once or twice, a 70/30 split. But then after, if you went to me and was like, hey, I have 2 or 3 successful homes, I'm looking for money, I think a 50/50 split is definitely something that could make more sense.
mhm.
Um, and so, yeah, that, that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It does very much. Well, I would like to say thank you very much. We are at the top of the hour, and now Effie has her next challenge. I have to figure out if I can go off air successfully or whether we both have to leave. So, normally, Travis, and I'm going to say this now, I like my guests to not go away, stay backstage so that I can get a little feedback and, that sort of thing. We're going to try that now. So I'm going to stop live recording and see what happens. And if it disconnects us, I'll phone you because I do want to have a little follow up. But if it keeps us here, then we'll be good.
All
So we'll
right.
see you guys next week. I am not giving up on technology.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Hmm. Hmm. Okay. Hmm. Yeah. I don't. I see it's still live streaming. Ugh. Okay. Oh, maybe here. Nope. All right. I guess I'm actually going to phone you. I'll figure this out for next time. All right. I'm going to leave this. Oh, end session for all. Oh, leave studio. That's how. Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Did we do it? No.